we will never offer, incredible influencer trips, incredible, out of this world, large scale events. That's not our vibe. What we can offer you is a great time learning about skincare and being part of the INKEY family.
Explore the minds and marketing strategies behind today's winning brands and businesses. Tap into the power of the creator economy with Earned by CreatorIQ. Here's Conor Begley.
Hi, everyone. Welcome to Earned. Today I've got Colette, the co-founder of the INKEY List. Welcome to the show, Colette.
Thank you so much for having me, Conor.
And Colette is one of my favorite people. I saw her on stage first and was like, oh my God, I need to interview this woman. We need to get her on. We need to get her on stage and on the podcast. So excited for this.
Okay, I'll take it. Thanks so much.
Yeah. Well, let's get into it. So you and your partner, Mark Curry, started this brand in 2018 after years of working together, or working for other people, I should say. What made you guys decide that, it was time to start a brand and get rid of all the fun in your life and all of your sleep?
You summed it up very well there. Yeah. So it was 2017 when we started the business, and we launched the INKEY List very, very quickly and launched it in 2018. And the reason, all the stars aligned for me on that brand, because we could see a real shift in consumers in relation to where brands were at. So where brands were at was a real opacity. Did you know that on most websites in 2017, 18, there were no INKEY lists on a website? People were buying products not even knowing what was in them. And they were being sold magic and marketing BS and, all that. But at the same time, there was a real shift in consumers. If you look at Reddit, that was starting to come through and people were like, hang on a minute, I don't even know what's in this product, or I don't know what's going on with my skin. What do I do? And there was no brand really supporting consumers and really truly being there for them. So there was this really real great moment in time where consumers wanted more, they wanted transparency, and brands just weren't giving it to them. So we said, imagine creating a brand that simplified everything down in skincare, this crazy confusing category, and just truly came consumer first. And that's why we launched the brand. And it was wild because we had a hunch that that was the right thing to do and that was right for consumers, that the brand just literally flew from day one. And it was so incredibly amazing to see your mission. Our mission is to spread the beauty of knowledge. And it just hit immediately with the consumer, which was amazing.
That's got to be awesome. What was the initial distribution? Was it just on your website, or did you start with a retailer, or how did that work?
So Mark and I are from retail backgrounds, so we kind of really understand the world of retail. And believe me, I can sell ice to an Eskimo. And I will say this because I saw him the other day, Joao Pelix and the Feel Unique team with Nigel took the brand without seeing any formulas.
Wow.
They were so oh gosh, you have something here. And, we really talked them through the concept and they were like, this is something amazing. So we launched online in the UK. The day we launched, we had Cult Beauty, an incredibly brand building retailer, ring me. Colette, why have I not got this brand? I need this brand now. I was like, what is happening? In 8 weeks, we were in Paris with the Sephora Europe team. And little did I know that sat next to me was Artemis Patrick.
For those that don't know Artemis, who is Artemis?
The goddess of Sephora. That's our official title.
I think she was chief merchandising officer at that time. Is that right?
Yes. Yeah. Yes, she was. Yeah. She said, this brand's incredible. What's your North America distribution plan? And I'm like, we're a little UK brand. There's literally two of us and we're in the UK. And she said, let's get you to Sephora. And within 6 months, we were in North America. We'd done a global deal with Sephora in over 30 countries. Mind-blowing.
And then I'm sure that was a really smooth rollout, right? There was never any issues. Everything was always in stock. You had no...
We had the funding we needed. We had a US warehouse set up, ready to go. Believe me, the most stressful 5 months of my life. That, wow. Yeah. I mean, you do not say no to that opportunity.
Yeah. The quote I liked from Mark was, I believe you have to be a psycho to be an entrepreneur. What were the craziest moments outside of that? I know you guys, kind of dodged bankruptcy a couple times, once or twice.
Casual.
What have been the craziest parts of the last 5-6 years?
I think the Sephora launch moment was like, everyone that's ever worked in beauty, having a brand in Sephora is like wild. But even, coming from a retail background, I had no idea what that had in store for me. And the expectations from launching into a big retailer, it's massive. And the investment is, cash is king. And it was really tough because we were struggling for cash at the start, but then we had huge success, and you've got cash issues for other reasons because you're growing too fast, you're expanding too fast, you're trying to place suppliers, like you're trying to build a team. So I'd say I don't think I actually realized the importance of cash before we launched the business, because a PO is great, but it's not money in your bank. So I'd say there's been a few hairy moments, and I'm sure, every brand founder out there will be feeling the same. I mean, the best thing and the worst thing that ever happened to the INKEY list is COVID. It was a shaky time. We were 11 months into North America distribution. And it was like the moment we were launching onto our first ever big gondola. And to do that in 12 months for a brand's amazing. Normally you stay on the next big thing for quite a while. We were so incredibly grateful that they'd given us our own gondola space. The launch date, 20th of March, 2020. Sure. Okay. So we'd invested like all of our money in the infrastructure needed, field team and the fixturization, everything that was like, this is go time. And then we went home, and everybody went home. That was a hairy moment. But also, Conor, what I will say is those hairy moments are the time where you either fly or die. And we flew. We took our field team and we created a service called Ask INKEY, which is 24/7, 365 skincare support. So we had them on live chat, on DMs, on our lives, giving skincare advice. And we pivoted to social and just went hard. We could have lost it at that moment, but it was the defining moment for us, and the brand just exploded from day 5 of COVID.
Wow, that's awesome. I was a part of some businesses. I mean, we have a lot of customers, right? That like their businesses went into the tank, like revenue would drop 30, 40, 50% because it was all retail. And so one of the reasons that, when I saw you on stage and I was like, we got to get her in, was you're super open about things, and in a way that I think is like really refreshing. And I think one of the things that you talk about a little bit is, or you've talked about in the past, is imposter syndrome.
Yes.
Which is kind of ironic because I feel like the beginning of this conversation, we're like, wait, maybe I'm not an imposter. Maybe everybody's an imposter. I'm curious, one, how have your opinions changed on, one, that topic, imposter syndrome? Mm-hmm. And then two, like I have gotten myself in trouble a few times before, being a little bit too open. What are the benefits to you of being so open? Like, why are you so willing to share so much?
So I think that's why we get on. Honestly, I'm going to just show you one of our packs right now, because our packs are black and white. And in the DNA of Mark and I, in our business, in our brand, and in our relationship is black and white, baby.
Yeah.
If you are black and white, you can't get tangled in lies. You can't get tangled in trying to be something you're not, being on stage versus talking to you right now versus talking to my team versus being on social media versus being at a PR event. I haven't got the headspace or the capacity to be a different person at different times. I am who I am, and our brand is transparent, and I am transparent. And honestly, I don't think it's an intentional thing. I think that's just who I am. And I have got in trouble multiple times, and some headlines hit the market. I'm like, oh, that was being recorded. Cool. Yeah, probably shouldn't have been that honest. But yeah, that's me. And then the imposter syndrome thing, I still feel it today. I've just learned that nobody knows what they're doing in life. As I'm getting to my 40s, I'm learning that. And I think my 20s and early 30s, I thought everybody knew what they were doing, and I didn't. And I was acting and playing, and I was going to get found out. And then to this day, I still think I'm going to get found out. And I hate to say that it's a female thing, and it isn't just a female thing, but there is something about a lack of self-belief. It annoys me, and I have to just overcome it and fake it till I make it, because every time I go on stage, every time I do a podcast, every time I'm, speaking to 130 people in my team, I'm there going, what am I doing? I shouldn't be here.
Yeah. Do you have to kind of coach your team through that? Is that something that you feel like you have to talk them through too, or not really?
The style of person that I am is I have a lot of a lot of flaws and, I've made a lot of mistakes, but I am a true people person and I can see the brilliance of people when they can't necessarily see it themselves. So I'm a huge advocate in developing people's strengths. And I learned early in my career, I had one manager really early on. And I was like, I can't do this. This is I'm not good at. And she says, I get it. Let's get you to a point where you can survive and you can do this side of it. But she said, let's focus on your strengths. And really harnessing and developing someone's strengths is something that really helps me to support my team and get them to feel good about themselves, because not everybody is good at everything and that's okay. Let's focus on your superpower. And I talk superpower in every interview I do, every performance review I do. What is your superpower and what is your legacy? Let's work that out and then we'll get a roadmap together.
Yeah, I remember very early on when we started our company, I was running the kind of our weekly leadership meetings and whatever. And I was like, I really need to focus on being more operational, doing this, that, and the other thing. And my co-founder, John, looks at me and goes, why? It's like, why do you want to get good at that? He's like, you don't like it. You're not that good at it right now. Like, why would you try to get good at it? And there's been a variety of other times that I've heard that. But basically, like for most people, there is something that makes them really, I should say all people, there's something that makes them unique and that they're really uniquely good at, right? To your point, the superpower. And it's like, get really good at that, right? Lean into that. Make sure that your flaws don't totally burn you down, but like, don't try to get good at those, right? Like that's not your specialty. That's not what you should be focusing on. So something else I want to talk to you guys about, I think obviously the transparency is a really big part of this, and you guys really hit on that. But I think separately, I think you guys have done a really good job of building relationships, right? Community, influencers. You guys are a top 30 brand globally that we track, ahead of brands like Dermalogica, SkinCeuticals, Dr. Jart. Like these are big names. Why do you think you've been so successful there? What has made you guys do so well? What are the approaches that you did that you think led to that?
I think in business in totality, relationships are everything. So whether you're talking internally, retail, suppliers, community, really building a true and authentic relationship takes more time. It takes a hell of a lot of effort, but it's really rewarding and the results come. And community, I think we, from the outset, have built a genuine community of people that have grown with us. From an influencer standpoint, we identified creators early on that aligned with our values, aligned with the education and knowledge philosophy and transparency, and has a style about them that feels authentic. And we've grown with them. There's one particular influencer who's just got a major, major brand deal with a huge brand. And I DM'd her the other day and just said, I just want to say congratulations. Like, she was working with us when she was so small. And she DM'd me straight back and was like, thanks so much. You guys have been with me from the start. And it's really nice where you're building your brand and your business and you've got creators that are doing the same. And there's like a genuine connection there. You both stand for the same things. You both build together. And for me, we're in a mindset now of how do we take the magic that we've built in our community and continue to scale that meaningfully? That's the challenge. But we see influencers and consumers and micro creators all as our community. I don't care if you spent $10 on our hyaluronic acid or you're a huge influencer. If you align with us and you're part of our community, you love our products, like everybody wins together. That's been our approach to working with influencers.
I've certainly noticed the same thing. I mean, I'm 12 years into this journey, and I think that the most powerful relationships are the ones that you built when there like wasn't a clear reason, right? It was just like, hey, you're really into this, I'm really into this. Like, let's be friends and let's continue to build this thing together.
Yeah.
And then you start building those relationships, and as they go from like, months of relationships to years of relationships to like a decade-long relationship, it becomes very, very powerful, right? And doing it for the right reasons, I think matters a lot too, right? Like why, not just like, oh, I'm doing this because this is the right marketing activity.
It'll pay back. Yeah. And there's no actual ROI on building relationships, really. You can't say, I had 10 interactions with that person and now they've made us X amount of money. That's not life. It doesn't actually work like that. And you have to put a hell of a lot of work in. I am still, every time we do a community event or a press event or an influencer event, I am the one in my personal DMs thanking everybody for coming, following up on, the conversations that we've had. This is not an easy thing to do. And I've also got an incredible team of people that have also built genuine relationships. And we've had loads of feedback that, coming to an INKEY event is so special because it's like being part of the family. We will never offer, incredible influencer trips, incredible, out of this world, large scale events. That's not our vibe. What we can offer you is a great time learning about skincare and being part of the INKEY family.
Yeah. You talked about scale a little bit there, right? So obviously in the early days, you're meeting with the 5 people that want to talk to you, but like now you guys have got over 10,000 influencers that are talking about you in a year, and they're going to create, 100,000 pieces of content. How do you scale that up? Like, what have you learned about that approach or that problem? And what do you still feel like you need to figure out? Like, what do you still have to go?
Getting the right platforms that can support you is really important, because you can have the best team ever, but working off spreadsheets, we were working off spreadsheets and trying to keep track of things, and it's just impossible. I think finding the right platforms that can help you to scale, that can help you to identify what's working, what's not, how you can scale it, that's huge. I'm torn, honestly, back to being black and white. I'm torn on the internal versus agency piece, because there's merits for both. We are running some stuff in-house and some stuff with an incredible agency. I prefer to keep things in because I prefer to keep relationships, but on a scale level of gifting, etc., there's a place for bringing outside support in. It's just working out how you maintain the control and the relationships within that. And then finding the unicorns, finding those team members that just get it. They can spot talent. They can spot people that are going to work really well with you. They nurture those relationships. I can't do it all myself as much as I try. So getting those unicorn team members that really get it, it's tough.
We hear that a lot, or I personally hear that a lot. Like, I'll get an email every other day asking for, hey, do you have somebody, right? And these are from really big brands. Like, they should have no problem recruiting, and they can't find the right people. And some of that, I think, is just like this category is moving so fast and it's growing so quickly that it's like, hey, it's like for us hiring, I need an engineer that's been doing AI for 10 years. It's like, well, AI hasn't existed for 10 years, so you're not going to find them, right? So it's like, you got like the same problem here, where it's just like, I need a CMO that understands influencers. Like, well, influencers have been around for like 10 years. So there's not that many CMOs that grew up with that, basically. And so it's there's a big talent gap, I think.
There's a talent gap, and there's also a lot of these skill sets are not necessarily teachable. Back to the relationships piece, like, you can't teach someone to be a relationship person. That's kind of in your DNA, right? So, some of these skill sets, you kind of have what you don't, and finding the people that have that skill set and recognize it and can grow that skill set is quite rare.
Yeah. One of the things I've observed, because I grew up with more of a sales background, right? That was my first job. So I did that. And I'm more of a relationship person like you, right? So I was always thinking long-term. I was thinking, I want to make sure that this person's a setup for success. And I remember we had a company, I won't say it, it's like one of the best performing brands around. They work with us, they sign up, everything seems fine. And then we get like 2 months in and we get like a scathing email. Like, I get it. I feel like I was like sold up the river. Like, I don't feel like you guys are doing what you said you're going to do. We've never gotten one of these before. And I was like, I don't know why this is happening. And they still had time left on their contract. I was like, you know what? Like, we'll give you your money back. You're out of the contract. No big deal, right? This will come back to us. And then 2 years later, they came back, or a year or two later, came back, signed up. They've been a client for 7, 8, 9 years. They're one of the best performing brands in the world. And I think that in general, people can be very transactional in the way that they interact with other people. And for me, the great irony of them being transactional in how they interact with people is actually, if you really want to be transactional, you should think about, how does my relationship with this person work over the next 20 years, right? Or the next 30 years? Because that's the actual what you want, right? How do you not look around the corner? Like, how do you not think long term here?
And it's not one-sided either, is it? You know, that's the whole point of a relationship. If things aren't working with an agency or in a team, I'm like, let's dig in and work out, you know, where are we not going right? That would never be the right situation to send a scathing email. The first thing you would do is be getting on the phone and going, hey, what's not working here? We're not feeling good. What's your perspective and how do we get there together? That's, for me, that would give a better result. I mean, ultimately, they lost a load of your amazing insight. So
Well, they came back.
lose there.
You know, you just never know what people are going through, right? Just to hit on that influencer side thing, because I do think it's something I'm personally curious about. You guys have like crushed it on TikTok, right? So you very much over-index there versus other people. Why do you think you've done so well on that channel specifically?
So black and white, first mover advantage, definitely helped. So we were one of the first skincare brands to launch onto TikTok early 2020. Our kind of mentality is very get out there, test it. You know, there's nothing really that can ever be so brand damaging. Like if it doesn't work, it's cool, but let's just get out there. Let's test what's going on. We were an Instagram brand. We were born, and you know the long form content worked really well with our educational strategy, and we really believed we truly were an Instagram brand. We were like, let's go on TikTok, and it was believe me, a culture shock because it's like say what you're gonna say in 3 seconds, go. But actually, we've very, very quickly found that it's just about edutainment, right? So you've got to educate, but you ultimately got to entertain. And I think our personality kind of helped that because we are playful. We will tell you straight, you know, we're not trying to be anything we're not. So actually that kind of more natural, authentic approach works better actually on TikTok than this sort of polished persona that we all try to give on Instagram. So I think people just resonated with our approach. We very much did it in an INKEY way, what is right for INKEY on TikTok, and just built it from there. It's been a wild ride, and it's a crazy platform, not one that I am the expert of at all. We've managed to stay on top of what TikTok is because it is evolving, and we've managed to kind of stay up there.
Well, it feels like in particular, skincare has just crushed it there too. Like for whatever reason, that there was just a very large skincare community that got built on TikTok. And to your point earlier, you know, you guys getting in early, you start to build those relationships before it's cool, right? Before everybody else is doing it. And I think that had to have helped.
It blew up the summer of 2020. And everyone was sat at home on their phones, not leaving their house. And guess what? No one was wearing makeup because they weren't leaving their house in COVID. So skincare just had this moment of, I'm bored. What am I going to do? Let's start looking after my skin. I don't know where to start. Oh, the INKEY list make it simple and educate. Maybe I'll give them a go. And it was the kind of marriage of a few things. But the platform is... it's wild, Conor. Honestly, I cannot keep up. Luckily, my team are managing too, but the evolution of TikTok it's fast.
Yeah, well, it's fast and it's just massive, right? Like it's moving and there's a lot of it. We'll do one question and then one kind of fun end of show question. So I've asked this to a few other entrepreneurs, and I think it's particularly interesting for you, given that you spent some time, you know, working for other people, and now you've had a pretty good run on the entrepreneurial side. Is it kind of entrepreneurship for life? Like, will you ever go back? Or,
Of course not.
right? It's kind of a weird thing.
You don't realize you're making a life choice, actually. You kind of like, let's give this a go, see where it goes. No, I could never. And actually, really funny, and I'm hoping Mark doesn't listen to this, my co-founder and a fiance. He's like, I wonder what we'll do next. And I'm like, you think I'm starting a business with you again? Like, hell no. Like, do you want to break us? I definitely don't think I can start another business with him. Once an entrepreneur, always an entrepreneur. And I was in corporate, but I actually have always had businesses and little side hustles, and I'm from a low income family, and I was like, if I want to do something in life, I'm going to have to find it myself. So I was a singer. My parents couldn't afford for me to go to college, so I sang at the weekend and made enough money to go to college. when I was at Boots, learning my craft on brand building. I had my own antique business on the side that I'd run. And like, I'm a hustler, I think. So I think that's always in me. And the thought of going back to having a boss now, I'd be awful. Absolutely awful.
Totally. Well, let's do that as your one fun end of show question. I don't know a lot about antiques. What's the one thing that is interesting about the antiques business that most people don't know?
I just love things that have had a past. You know, it doesn't need to be a fancy antique, but I just love that, you know, the world is so much bigger than we are, and we think we're so important. But, you know, I've got furniture in our house. I'm like, I wonder how many generations that's gone through. I wonder how many blankets have been in this cabinet. You know, for me, it's about something that's bigger than yourself. It's a history that's bigger than yourself. I would say my cabinet behind me will last longer than I will, but it looks like it's about to fall over, so maybe not. But I just love history, and it's something that's bigger than me, and I'll move on. But these things hopefully are here to stay.
So the one that really trips me out. So I just watched this TikTok video, and there's this guy trying to explain the size of the universe, right?
Yes.
And so he goes, okay, so imagine you have a piece of cereal, and this piece of cereal is a galaxy, right? So a galaxy will have billions of stars in it. Each star has, you know, many planets, like our sun has many planets. And he's like, so we're going to take this piece of cereal and we're going to put it in a swimming pool, like a fairly large swimming pool, like an Olympic-sized swimming pool. He's like, so we're going to fill up this swimming pool with galaxies. Each one of the little pieces of cereal is a galaxy. And he's like, and you would think maybe that's how many galaxies there are. He's like, no, you're going to fill up about 300 swimming pools of galaxies.
That's exactly my point, said in antique terms. Yeah, we are pretty insignificant.
Oh my God, like what?
But anyway, I'm going to keep selling the skincare.
Like, oh my God, what am I doing?
That is the best question I've ever been asked, ever.
Oh, man. Well, I really appreciate it, Colette. And congrats again on all the success. Excited to watch what you and Mark start next. And yeah, let's hang out soon.
Amazing. Thanks so much, Conor.
Be a friend, tell a friend, and subscribe. Earned by CreatorIQ. CreatorIQ is your all-in-one solution to grow, manage, scale, and measure your influencer marketing program. Ready to unlock the power of the creator economy? Get started with a demo today at CreatorIQ.com.